Welcome to Teaching Languages to Young Learners. In this new episode, we are going to learn about learning language through tasks and activities. First, let me ask you guys, what is a task? Do you know what a task is? Well, a task is a language learning attempt that requires learners to comprehend, manipulate, or produce a target language as they perform some set of work plans that are set by the teacher prior each class. On the other hand, for bankered attached linguists, the classroom tasks and activities are seen as the environment or ecosystem in which the growth of skills in the foreign language takes place. And what does this mean? It means that all the things that are surrounding the activity, the environment, the teacher, the students, have to be organized in such a way that everything that you see and use counts. And all that makes a whole understanding of things.
And do you really know the difference between a task and an activity? Well, let's see. Tasks should have a clear, specific, and oriented purpose and goal, because this will help students to focus on the meaning in the ideas they are conveying. Another important characteristic is that they have a measurable outcome. They may quite short or it may last over several lessons. And finally, they involve the learner's activity. Activities are more general and refers to any kind of purposeful classroom procedure that involve learner doing something that relates to the goals of the course. For example, singing a song, playing a game, taking part in a debate, having a group discussion are all different kinds of teaching activities. Have you noticed how some learners pretend to be working on an activity, and when you go to check their work, they haven't done anything or it is all wrong? That's because children's nature is to want to please adults and they are not good at accepting failure. Therefore, teachers must pay attention to the students' comprehension of what they have been asked to do.
So, when teachers try to come up with activities and tasks that allow the growth of language skills, the study of the demands that a task places on pupils is a key way to assess its suitability and its learning potential. We have several types of demands in learning language activities. First, we are going to use the following activity as a reference point. Activities at the park. Student A. Instructions. Part 1. Read each sentence, then cut carefully and paste the correct character in the respective scene. At the end of the activity, read your sentences to your partner. Part 2. Using the characters of the images below, write your own sentences using present continuous. Cognitive demands vary with a degree of contextualization of language, difficulty of concepts that are needed to do the tasks. Let's think about the activity to illustrate how this demand can be applied. Here we have this worksheet. In this example, students are demanded to recognize each subject as the main character of their scene. Also, they are demanded to understand the sentence tense, present continuous, and comprehend the meaning of each verb. Language demands vary with whether the language is spoken or written, understanding or production, extended talk or conversation, with vocabulary and grammar, with the gender, with the amount of L1 and L2. In the previous example, we have students are demanded to understand teachers' instructions, explanations, and feedback. Besides, this activity demands the correct pronunciation and intonation of the sentences. Interactional demands vary with the type of interaction required. Students are demanded to interact with their partners by sharing their sentences. They must pay attention to their partner and try to understand what they are saying. Metalinguistic demands may include the use of technical terms about language in production or comprehension. Students are demanded to understand the guidelines and feedback given. Then, they will be demanded to write sentences using the present continuous. Involvement demands vary with the ease or difficulty the learner has in engaging with the task. Students are asked to keep engaged with the task for as long as it takes to complete it. Physical demands vary depending on how long the child must sit still for, the actions and the fine motor skills needed. Students are asked to use their fine motor skills to manipulate scissors when cutting the images.
Beyond the demands on a task, we must try to use what the children can already do to help them master new skills and knowledge, or to match children's natural abilities and inclinations. And to accomplish this, we have several types of support in learning language activities. First, cognitive support can come from the contextualization of the language, from the use of concepts already developed, from familiar formats of graphics or activities, from familiar topics and content. Pictures provide support for the meaning and understanding of the verbs to be used in this activity. Language support can come from the reuse of language already mastered, from moving from easier domains to more difficult. When the teacher models and explains the task, he is providing support. This activity is developed after they have already studied the grammar and some vocabulary on the present continuous. Interactional support can come from the type of interaction. Students can be supported by working in pairs and listening to their partners. Metalinguistic support can come from the familiar technical terms to talk about new language and clear explanations. The teacher gives a detailed explanation of the activity. Involvement support can come from the content and activities that are easy for the learners to engage with. Working in pairs and activities as cutting and pasting keep them interested in the task. Physical support consists of variations in sitting and moving, use of familiar actions, match activities to the level of fine motor skills development of each student. Students already know how to cut and paste, so they feel comfortable doing it, which provides them support.
Nonetheless, children's learning not only depends on the demands or on the support, but on the dynamic relationship between demands and support. Let's remember, the language learning goals consist of acquiring knowledge through an effort by using both the macro and micro language skills that come with a bit of struggle. To get the balance between demands and support, we can apply the Goldilocks Principle. A task that is going to help the students learn more language is one that is demanding but not too demanding, that provides support but not too much support.
And how can teachers ensure that the balance of demands and support produces language learning? Even though the course book or syllabus is helpful, the teacher who knows the students is the one who plans how the contents are going to be taught. With this, the teacher can set up particular tasks to accomplish certain goals for the particular needs of his students. In setting clear and specific language learning goals, teachers are scaffolding the tasks for children. Scaffolding means to break down tasks into manageable steps, each with its own sub-goals that should ensure success and achievement at each step, and of the tasks as a whole. When scaffolding reading, for example, you might review the text and discuss key vocabulary, or chunk the text and then read and discuss as you go. We also have the concept of steps or stages in classroom tasks. In terms of teaching reading skills, reading activities have been planned in 3 stages over the years: pre-reading, reading, and post-reading. This 3-stage format has been applied to listening and has become the mainstream task-based learning and activity-based language learning in elementary school classrooms.
Hill Cameron has adapted and renamed these stages to preparation, core activity, and follow-up. Preparation activities prepare the learners to be able to complete the core activities successfully and might include pre-teaching of language items or activation of topic vocabulary. The core activity is based on the objectives of language learning and is critical to the task. Without the core, the task will fail. The follow-up stage builds on successful completion of the core, perhaps with a public performance of work done in the core, or with written work based on oral language used in the core. Now we are going to see a chart that is very essential when planning activities. The chart follows the stages in classroom tasks and contains all we have seen, from learning language goals, activities, demands on learners, to support for learning. For that, let's go back to our previous example, activities in the park.
We should also pay attention to how important making small changes to the information or the activity is, because it can lead to very large changes to the task as the students experience it.
It is a very powerful tool. If teachers make such small changes, they can use them to adapt and adjust the task of the coursebook to suit specific learners.
In order to help maintain a clear distinction between what is planned and what happens in practice, we can label the two task as plan and task as action. We can plan hourly or activities, material and guidelines that will be given to the students. However, we cannot assure how effective the task will be until we put them into practice with the students. The different aspects of tasks introduced in this chapter can all be used for evaluating tasks in action once they have been identified in the task as planned.
We have learned a lot today, from finally distinguish the difference between tasks and activities to how to make an effective task through the guidelines the demands and support in a task can provide. So, to finish, let me ask you, can you give us your own definition of task demands? Why do you consider there has to be a balance between demands and support in a classroom task? If you were to develop a task with your students where they have to create a dialogue, what type of support would you put into practice? Okay guys, think about those questions and see you on the discussion. Bye!